Now on News 4.
So I got a text message from my daughter. She said that there's an active shooter.
A local student shot steps from his high school.
Someone produced a weapon, fired that weapon, striking a 14-year-old student.
Graphic video capturing the brawl and the gunfire shared on social media. What we've learned about the shooting and fears and frustration from parents.
Very, very terrifying.
Plus, shots fired inside a metro station. 2 15-year-olds among the victims.
They were involved in a fight on the platform.
One of them a bystander. The safety concerns for riders after the second metro shooting in a matter of hours. Then, misconduct, lying, intimidation. A House committee investigation into the commanders released. The scathing report detailing Dan Snyder's decades of cover-ups and how the team is responding. Working for you on all of today's top stories. Right now at 6.
First at 6 tonight, the latest act of violence on a local campus. Tonight, a 14-year-old freshman is in the hospital after being shot between classes. Thanks for joining us, everyone. I'm Sean Yancey.
And I'm Leon Harris. It has been a busy day of breaking news, and we're working for you to get you caught up on all of it. Now, this morning's shooting was caught on video by classmates who saw it happen. Parents who shared it with us say that it was posted on social media within minutes of the gunfire that rang out near the football field at Suitland High School.
News 4's Megan McGrath has been there all day speaking with frightened parents and students and investigators and joins us now with the latest. Megan.
Well, just imagine you send your child off to school in the morning only to find out a few hours later that he's been shot on school grounds. That's what one family is dealing with tonight, and it all happened here at Suitland High School. A 14-year-old student is now in the hospital. Another 14-year-old student is in police custody. These cell phone videos circulated on social media and shared with News 4 by parents of Suitland High students show a fight among young people by the bleachers behind the school. Then comes the sound of gunfire. A 14-year-old ninth grader was shot and is now stable at the hospital. Another 14-year-old student has been arrested. Police haven't identified him as the shooter, but he remains in police custody. It all happened near the athletic field as kids transitioned between classes.
It's so crazy out here now, you know, with all the shootings and kids, violence.
Worried parents flocked to Suitland High hoping to pick up their children, but the school remained on lockdown for several hours. No one in, no one out.
Y'all can't stop me from getting my child.
As the hours passed, tensions ran high with parents voicing frustration.
And you saying wait till dismissal?
They wanted more information and they wanted their kids home safe.
The only thing I want to do is run in there and grab her and take her home.
Get here. That's all that went through my mind. You know, just get to my baby.
Around 2 o'clock, 4 hours after the shooting, parents were allowed to pick up their kids. Mom Christina Suggs' relief obvious through her tears as she walked her daughter out.
As a parent, what was that like?
It was terrifying. I couldn't breathe because all I wanted to do was just get my hands on my kid. Now I'm okay. This school is like very horrible. Like y'all supposed to basically protect kids and y'all not doing a darn thing. Like y'all not protecting us at all.
Now, the county executive, the chief of police, and other county officials who came here to the scene today say that they are taking this very seriously, that those involved will be punished. Also, police are crediting students who witnessed the shooting with providing information that led police to the teenager who's now in custody. Back to you.
Megan McGrath reporting this evening. No parent and no child should ever feel like that going to school. Thank you, Megan. We're following some breaking news in Montgomery County where police are investigating a deadly shooting at a gas station in White Oak. This happened at the Shell gas station at the intersection of New Hampshire Avenue and Lockwood Drive. Police say a man walked into that gas station around 3 this afternoon, got into an argument with the clerk, and then shot and killed the clerk. Chopper 4 spotted officers walking a nearby neighborhood as part of the investigation. News 4's Darcy Spencer is at the scene, and we'll be hearing from her coming up at 6:30.
For the second day in a row, a shooting unnerved Metro commuters and left 2 teenagers and a woman injured. The latest shooting happened this morning at the Benning Road Metro station. Police say it apparently started with the fight, and now they are searching for 3 suspects. Mauricio Casillas joins us now from Metro headquarters with an update tonight. Mauricio?
Sean, good evening to you. Police say this all started after 3 teen suspects got into some altercation with a 15-year-old boy there on the platform of the Benning Road station. Police say at a certain point, one of those suspects took out a gun and fired at that 15-year-old boy, striking him in the thigh. He has been hospitalized and is in critical condition. As for those other 2 victims, police say that a 34-year-old woman and another 15-year-old boy were also shot. They were hit by stray bullets. Metro Transit Police and DC police officers combed through the Benning Road station. The busy Metro stop shut down for hours after gunfire erupted.
People have to ride the train every day, go to work.
Pompey Baker, who lives just down the road, frequently uses the station. She's unsettled by what happened.
Need to put these guns down. Just put it down. It's too much.
Police are still working to learn what caused the altercation between the 15-year-old boy who was shot and the 3 other teens. At this point, police believe the 2 other victims were at the wrong place at the wrong time.
Unfortunately, the other 2, the adult and the juvenile, were sitting on the bench, and a stray bullet struck their lower extremities.
Both are expected to survive. The shooting did not come as a surprise to Marta Lopez, who works near the station.
Sometimes you can hear shootings and things like that, but I try to stay in my place, stay at the location where I'm supposed to work at, and stay away.
Police do not believe that there's a threat to the public at this point. Commander Robinson says it's unfortunate, though, that he has to respond to another scene involving teen gun violence.
We can never become numb to violence, regardless of the age, but we are seeing more of juveniles.
Yeah, as we speak, police are still on the lookout for those 3 suspects, and the only information they've given us about them is that they were last seen wearing puffy coats leaving the Benning Road Metro station. We can also tell you that Metro Transit police officers responded about 3 minutes after the shooting was reported, but by the time they got there, the suspects had already fled. Reporting live outside of Metro headquarters, Mauricio Casillas, News 4.
Mauricio, thank you. We also have new information about last night's deadly shooting on a train platform at Metro Center. Police say an off-duty FBI agent shot and killed a man during some sort of altercation. The man allegedly pushed the agent over a railing. They both fell 8 feet below the platform. At some point, shots were fired. The man died. The federal officer was taken to the hospital with minor injuries. Investigators recovered a handgun at the scene that they say belonged to the man who died. Ahead at 6:30, News 4 transportation reporter Adam Tuss has a message from Metro's general manager to riders about the recent violence.
We are seeing the first images of American basketball star Brittney Griner freed in a prisoner swap with Russia. Russian state media showing this video, apparently shot by Russia during the exchange process. And in this clip, you can hear someone telling Griner that she's flying home. Griner was exchanged for the notorious arms dealer Victor Bout, and Russia is also showing video of him during the exchange. And despite a great sense of relief on Griner's behalf, there's a great sense of disappointment as well that imprisoned American Paul Whelan was not part of this deal. Senior U.S. diplomats say the Russians are handling Griner's case differently than Whelan's. They say the choice was, quote, one or none. Alice Barr is tracking this tonight.
Relieved elation today.
I'm going to smile right now.
For the family of WNBA star Brittney Griner, released from Russian custody after 10 long months behind bars. She was sentenced to 9 years over marijuana vape cartridges she says were medically prescribed and accidentally packed on a trip to Russia.
Brittney will soon be back in the arms of her loved ones, and she should have been there all along. This is a day we've worked toward for a long time.
This new video shown on Russian state television apparently recorded by Russia during a prisoner exchange, the Biden administration securing Griner's release in exchange for the Russian arms dealer Victor Bout. But they were unable to bring home another American, the former Marine Paul Whelan, who U.S. officials say is also wrongly detained in Russia.
This was not a choice of which American to bring home. The choice was one or none.
Whalen is serving a 16-year sentence after being accused of spying, which the U.S. denies. Sources familiar say Russia is refusing to release Whalen without getting a Russian spy in return, the U.S. insisting it doesn't have any in custody. The administration vowing to keep fighting for Whalen.
We will never give up.
Whalen's brother, though deeply disappointed, commended the move to bring Griner home.
I think President Biden made the right decision. His job is to protect all Americans.
While some Republican lawmakers are slamming the deal.
We traded a basketball player for a known terrorist, a criminal.
Mixed emotions as one American family is made whole while others still wait and hope. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
Brittney Griner was transferred from a penal colony to Moscow about 2 days ago. Her first stop outside of Russia was the United Arab Emirates, but she is now on her way home.
She's got to be very excited. All right, her family too. Well, we are tracking the year-end rush to finish business before the start of the next Congress. The Respect for Marriage Act is now headed to President Biden's desk. Today, the House gave final passage to the landmark legislation that protects same-sex marriage rights and interracial couples. But lawmakers still have yet to pass a measure to extend government funding beyond December 16th. They are expected to reach an agreement to prevent a shutdown, but time is running short.
National Guard troops are going to be in the district next week to assist during the U.S.-Africa Leaders Summit. The troops will not be armed, and they'll be primarily assisting with traffic. The event will shut down several major roads, and there also will be checkpoints set up and fencing around the convention center as extra security. President Biden and at least 60 African leaders will be at the summit. It takes place from the 13th to the 15th.
Well, still to come here on News 4 at 6, Congress's investigation into the commanders.
Yes, a scathing report released today. Our News 4 I team read all 79 pages, so you don't have to. What top lawmakers uncovered about Dan Snyder and the NFL.
But first, we're inching closer to the weekend, and Doug's here to fill us in on that forecast. Hey, Doug.
And that forecast is looking pretty good, even though right now we're dealing with clouds, and you can see some rain trying to move our way. I'll show you if that rain makes it in as we make our way through the night tonight, what it means for your Friday and your weekend. See you back here in just a minute.
With just days to go before handing over the gavel, Democrats on the House Oversight and Reform Committee slammed what they called the Washington Commanders' toxic workplace and owner Dan Snyder for trying to keep you from knowing about it. The News 4 I team has been combing through the 80-page long report and is already hearing some pushback from the league, the team, and its embattled owner. Investigative reporter Ted Oberg is in our newsroom. He's got more on these findings. Ted?
Leon, in this report released just hours ago, the committee lays out disturbing details from its investigation. Everything from inside Snyder's suite to behind closed doors at the team's offices. The report also going into greater detail about what it calls Snyder's obstruction. Fans have seen owner Dan Snyder on the Commanders' sidelines for decades. Committee investigators found what he was doing out of your sight was troubling. Whistleblowers, including a former team employee, said Snyder once inappropriately touched her and attempted to aggressively push her into his limousine. Another testified employees were asked to produce a video for Snyder of sexually suggestive footage of cheerleaders without their knowledge. And once NFL investigators started nosing around the Commanders' culture, another employee told the committee Snyder sent private investigators to his Arizona home. Committee slammed Snyder for witness intimidation, but also blamed the NFL for not cleaning up its own mess.
Instead of being transparent about it and taking steps to be accountable, the NFL did absolutely nothing. If anything, they became complicit with the Commanders in covering up what is happening.
Today's report from them is full of it. It's typical Washington and obviously very disappointing.
Commander's attorney, John Brownlee, called today's report misleading and predetermined. He accused the committee of not being interested in the truth, telling the I-team they didn't ask Snyder for relevant documents nor follow up on inconsistencies in witness testimony.
Do you believe the women who work and have worked at the Washington Commanders deserve better?
So there is no doubt that there was a time period for which there was a toxic work environment and a bad work environment in certain parts of the team. That things have changed, and it is a good work environment now, and they deserve that.
In a statement to the I-team, the NFL said it cooperated extensively with the committee and is committed to harassment-free workplaces. Committee Republicans, Leon, suggest this is all an effort to sully Snyder and help Washington Post owner Jeff Bezos by the Commanders.
Well, there's a conspiracy theory for you. Well, thank you, Ted. Yeah, obviously, this is all very troubling. And for everybody out there who's been waiting to see what this report has in it, everybody's wondering, is the committee saying anything about what can actually be done about what it found?
You know as well as others, the committee has had a lot of pushback for investigating a football team in the midst of this Congress. But Chairwoman Carolyn Maloney has introduced 2 bills she said would protect all Americans. One would make it easier for employees with NDAs to speak up about conduct like this. The other would force employers to get written permission from their employees before using their photos or video in situations that could cause some concern. Both bills early in the process.
Okay, and lots more to watch out for. All right, appreciate that, Ted. Now, I'm going to bring Sean in here because we don't want to let this moment pass without welcoming you officially here to News 4.
Yeah, Ted joins us now from KTRK in Houston. Ted, tell us a little bit about yourself for our viewers who are tuning in right now.
I born and raised in New York. I spent 6 years in Southern Virginia, in Norfolk and Roanoke. Loved my time there. Spent a couple decades in Houston. A wonderful city if you haven't been. And I'm happy to be here and glad I'm finally at work.
Well, we are certainly happy to have you here and calling News 4 your new home. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
And since you have covered a Washington football scandal, you are now official.
You're official.
That's right.
Welcome to the team.
Happy to be
Ted.
here.
All right, thanks, man.
All right, let's talk about the weather now.
Okay.
There was sunshine apparently today, and
Yeah, for that long.
Oh, see, don't
Just about.
just put it on me. I'm just saying.
Am I right?
Apparently he's going to say
She
no.
didn't even see it.
You didn't?
No.
There you go.
Right?
There you go. I rest my fingers.
The sun was out at both of your houses, because I know where both of you live.
Okay.
The sun was out from 7:15 this morning until about 12:30. That was 5 hours of sunshine that both of you seemed to miss.
said
But
just
I
a
saw
little
it.
bit.
Hopefully you saw it too, because when we were in the sun, it was really nice outside. I actually got some outdoor decorating done today, so that was nice. Let's take a look, show you what we're dealing with out there right now. No sun to be had currently. We've got the cloud cover, and of course, sun went down about an hour and a half ago. We're looking at temperatures now sitting at 52 degrees. Those numbers have dropped after a high of 59 earlier. Wind out of the north at 8 miles per hour, and that northerly component to the wind, that is going to have an impact on our weather tonight. Temperatures are going to fall. Tomorrow will be a cooler day, if not colder by some standards. Right now, current temperatures down to 48 in Gaithersburg, 47 in Martinsburg, still in the 50s. Manassas, Waldorf, Patuxent River coming in at 53 degrees, so not bad. Okay, no rain in our region right now, but just back to the west, starting to see some showers show up. Now, most of this not quite hitting the ground, but we are starting to see some rain moving in. Now, this is a pretty good little storm system making its way on through, but it's falling apart. And notice the last couple of frames here. Watch the rain come here and then diving down to the south. Most of us are not going to see the rain tonight. Maybe a couple of quick sprinkles or a quick shower, but that's it. The bigger part of this is moving down to the south because high pressure to the north is building in. That's what's going to allow temperatures to cool overnight tonight and really bring us a much cooler day during the day tomorrow. So here's that shower activity around 11 o'clock. And you notice it's really not much at all. The clouds stick here. Most of the rain is well down to the south, down around the Roanoke area. Watch what happens, though, with the high pressure. As it builds in, watch it just dry out and erode the cloud deck. So tomorrow morning, waking up, nothing but sunshine tomorrow, especially from D.C. to the north and east, south, and west. Maybe a few more clouds here, but even down into this area, I think you get in a little bit of sun. But look at the clouds around the Culpeper area, around Winchester, down around Fredericksburg, while D.C., Frederick, Annapolis, all sunshine during the day on your Friday. So you won't be able to miss that. And with temperatures right around average, that's a pretty good-looking Friday afternoon here. Now, we do see the clouds return. Look at 4 a.m. Here comes a little bit of moisture moving on in here, and that could produce a little bit of light snow in part of our area on Saturday morning. And by Saturday morning, I'm talking 4 or 5 a.m. It is not going to amount to anything, but if you just happen to be up, you might see a flake or two. During the afternoon, maybe a little bit of sun in parts of the area on Saturday, but we'll see a lot of clouds for the most part. Tomorrow morning, starting off at 41, 47 degrees by 1 o'clock, up to 51 by noon. And once again, 51 with sunshine and light wind. That's a pretty good day. Now, as we move on to the day on Saturday, much cooler. High temperatures around 44. And, you know, Saturday is going to be a cold day. 44 degrees with a lot of cloud cover will make things colder. 48 degrees on Sunday. 30% chance of showers, but you should be just fine. 47 degrees on Monday. No problem there. So looking pretty good. Heading into next week, more 40s and a possibility of a really big storm middle of next week. I've got that for you coming up in about 20 minutes.
Okay, but in the meantime, sunshine tomorrow. tomorrow.
Sunshine tomorrow, Sean. Set your clock.
Woohoo! I'll make sure I see it.
How do you miss the sunshine?
Thanks, Doug.
Thanks, Doug.
Coming up, helping kids manage end-of-year stress.
There's a lot they're supposed to do that's crammed into just a couple of weeks.
We're working for you with 4 tips from a local psychologist to help children of all ages cope and finish the year off right. Next on News 4.
We are back now at the bottom of the hour with the latest on that breaking news in Montgomery County, Maryland. Police are searching for the man who shot and killed a gas station clerk in White Oak this afternoon.
News 4's Darcy Spencer joins us now from outside the gas station. Darcy, police gave an update within the last hour. What have you learned?
Oh, that's right, Leon. We just got that update from Montgomery County Police. They are confirming that a clerk, someone who works here inside this gas station convenience store, was shot and killed here earlier this afternoon. You're seeing that this is still a very active scene here. This is at the Shell gas station on New Hampshire Avenue. There was some kind of confrontation that took place inside this dash-in convenience store. The man was working here in the counter area. Another man came into the store. There was a confrontation. The clerk was shot multiple times in the upper body and was pronounced dead here on the scene. That information, according to Montgomery County Police. Let's show you a map of this area. This is a very busy area of Montgomery County. We're at New Hampshire Avenue and Lockwood Drive in the White Oak area here in Montgomery County. So a very busy area. You know, a lot of people have been showing up here trying to actually go into the gas station, which is closed at this point. Now, police are saying that they are still searching for the gunman in connection with the shooting. We know that they were searching some of the area neighborhoods, but at this point, nothing has been found. We talked to, again, a Montgomery County Police spokesperson as well as a member of the county council a short time ago. Let's hear a little bit of what they had to say.
Now the detectives are on scene. They're looking at that aspect to see if whether or not the surveillance camera were working, were functioning, and if there's actually footage of this crime.
I mean, I live right around here. My parents live right around here. I've always felt safe moving around here, but clearly we need to do more, and we will.
So Montgomery County Police say this is an active investigation. They are still searching for the gunman who's responsible for shooting and killing a clerk, someone here doing their job. We did have some people show up here earlier saying that they go to this gas station all the time, and they were just heartbroken to learn that there was a shooting inside the store and that it may have been someone they know. Montgomery County Police say if you know anything, have information, they would like to hear from you. The victim has not yet been identified. Back to you.
Darcy Spencer reporting live. Thank you, Darcy.
All right, now to a look at the other top stories we're tracking for you.
A 14-year-old is in the hospital after being shot outside of Suitland High School this morning. Police tell us that they've arrested another 14-year-old accused of firing those shots during a fight in between classes. The school was put on lockdown for several hours as a precaution. The teenage victim is expected to recover.
The House Oversight Committee released a scathing 79-page report today that details years of misconduct and cover-ups by the Washington Commanders. It also accuses team owner Dan Snyder of allowing a toxic work culture and trying to cover up decades of sexual misconduct of female employees. The report also alleges the NFL did little to stop it.
Police are looking for 3 suspects connected to a triple shooting at the Benning Road Metro station this morning. They say those suspects got into a fight with a 15-year-old on the station's platform, and one of them shot the teen. He has life-threatening injuries this evening. 2 others were sitting on a nearby bench when they were hit by stray bullets, but they are expected to be okay.
And that shooting happened just hours after last night's fatal shooting at Metro Center. Police say an off-duty police officer and off-duty FBI agent shot and killed an armed man amid some sort of fight.
Both men ended up falling about 8 feet off of a red line platform during the struggle, and that sent hundreds of riders scrambling and sent the evening commute into chaos as trains bypassed Metro Center for hours.
Today, Metro's general manager spoke at length about the recent shootings. Transportation reporter Adam Tuss is at Metro headquarters now with the message the GM has for riders.
We need our community to come together and our country to come together and stop having so much gun violence.
A passionate Metro general manager, Randy Clark, talking about 2 shootings on his system in under 24 hours.
I don't think this is being political in any nature. We have a gun problem in America. And that's not Metro's problem. We are impacted by that. But there's shootings all over the place in America.
The scene last night at Metro Center during the evening commute where an off-duty FBI agent shot and killed another rider. The general manager says there have been other incidents as well.
And I'm tired of it. And I'm really tired of it. Like, we had a shooting 2 weeks ago, one of our buses, where someone shot against our bus. And I get that phone call, and you know, the biggest thing in this job is what happens when you get a phone call and one of your employees or customers gets killed.
Now, he does say Metro's putting more police officers on the system. By his estimation, patrols are up 25% compared to when he took over. But he admits there will be times when police are not visible.
I cannot and will not have enough police where every human being sees a police on every bus and train. That is impossible. That's not how our world works. But we have an enormous amount of police presence out there.
In both last night's shooting and today's at the Benning Road Station, Clark says officers were on the scene within 3 to 4 minutes.
Yeah, so obviously some emotion from Metro's leader about these recent shootings on the system. He says he himself was on a train last night, was about 2 minutes away from that shooting at Metro Center. We did ask him what his message to riders would be today, and he says simply, you're safe. At Metro headquarters, Adam Tuss, News 4.
We have this just in tonight. Virginia Attorney General Jason Miyares has selected the Quinn Emanuel Urquhart and Sullivan firm as special counsel to conduct the external review of the events that led to the death of 3 University of Virginia football players last month. Meanwhile, the suspect in the murders appeared in court today. Christopher Jones Jr. faces 3 murder charges in the shootings of Devin Chandler, Lavelle Davis, and Deshaun Perry on a bus that had just returned from a field trip to Washington. Today in court, prosecutors asked for as much time as possible to gather witnesses for future hearings. The judge set a hearing date for next March.
Case closed for 2 local cold case murders. Charles Hallam pled guilty today to killing Aya Sober Adler of Kensington, Maryland back in 1987 and Jennifer Landry in Prince George's County in 2002. Sober Adler's body was found in a parking lot in Reston along the toll road. Hallam is already serving life in prison for killing his ex-girlfriend inside her Chantilly townhouse in 2002. He has long been suspected in both of the cold cases.
Still ahead tonight on News 4 at 6, an end of an era.
This is, I have to tell you, a poignant day for my family.
News 4's Mark Seagraves takes you inside the historic stadium as D.C. says farewell to a piece of its history. Got a little good news as we head into the winter. Today, the FDA authorized updated COVID booster shots for children under 5 years old. The Omicron-targeted vaccines made by Moderna and Pfizer will become available to kids 6 months and older after the CDC signs off. The Food and Drug Administration's decision hopes the vaccine will better protect children from severe COVID, especially as children's hospitals are already packed with patients dealing with respiratory illnesses.
The captain who grounded a massive container ship on the Chesapeake Bay this past March was distracted by his cell phone. A new report from the Coast Guard found that he was using his phone moments before the Ever Forward plowed into a shallow area in the bay. The investigation revealed that he was sending texts and emails for nearly half of the ship's transit. The Ever Forward was stuck in about 18 feet of mud where it sat for more than a month before finally getting free. The report also found other officers on board the ship failed to inform the captain of the ship's doomed trajectory. Earlier this week, Maryland officials suspended that captain's license.
Well, tonight, Loudoun County Schools will appoint an interim superintendent to replace Scott Ziegler, who was fired this week.
Ziegler was fired following a special grand jury report that showed that he misled the public and made mistakes while handling the 2 sexual assaults in Loudoun schools last year. Northern Virginia Bureau reporter Drew Wilder reports on who will be taking over that role now.
Here in the next few minutes, we expect the Loudoun County School Board to appoint Dr. Daniel Smith as the interim superintendent. He's currently serving as the chief of staff here in Loudoun, and he was hired into that chief of staff position back in April. So he was here well after the sexual assaults occurred last year. And prior to that, he worked as the principal of Lake Braddock Secondary over in Fairfax County, and that is the largest school in the Commonwealth. In 2021, Smith was named the secondary school principal of the year by the state PTA, and you know, he seems to be be pretty well liked here in Loudoun County already. In fact, one of the board members who was recently voted out said Smith's name was already in the conversation to replace Ziegler well before the special grand jury report even came out this week. So if Smith is appointed, he will serve as the interim until the school board hires its next superintendent. And per Virginia law, the school board has 180 days to make that hire. And you know, it's going to play out much like it did when they hired Ziegler. There will be a national search. There will be public input. And given the microscope that Loudoun County Schools is under right now, you better believe that will be the most transparent hiring process that's legally possible. Reporting in Loudoun County, Drew Wilder, News 4.
Stay with News 4 tonight at 11. Drew will fill us in on what happens at that meeting tonight.
Well, coming up next year on News 4 at 6, Brittney Griner finally freed.
NBC News' Andrea Mitchell joins us to break down the prisoner exchange that's finally bringing the WNBA star home.
But first, let's check back in with Doug.
And we're tracking some shower activity, making its way our way. But does that mean rain for your Friday and the weekend? We'll talk about it coming up in just a minute.
We are back now with a deeper look at one of the day's top stories, the prisoner swap that freed basketball star Brittney Griner. She is now on her way back to the U.S. after spending 10 months in Russian prisons.
President Biden's administration exchanged a notorious Russian arms dealer for Griner. But there are concerns tonight for the former Marine who remains in Russian custody. NBC News chief Washington correspondent and chief foreign affairs correspondent Andrea Mitchell is tracking the latest.
Hi, Leon and Sean. Well, tonight, after 10 months behind bars in Russia, WNBA star Brittney Griner is coming home. Seen on Russian state TV, in fact, state video, getting on a flight from Russia. As President Biden told reporters, she's safe, she's on a plane, she's on her way home after months of being unjustly detained in Russia, held under intolerable circumstances. The president making that announcement, announcing the deal alongside Griner's wife, Sherelle, after both talked to Brittney from the Oval Office. Sherelle expressing that she was overwhelmed with emotions and expressing sincere gratitude to President Biden and the entire administration. Griner was exchanged on the tarmac in the United Arab Emirates for a notorious Russian arms dealer, Victor Bout, widely known as the Merchant of Death. He had served 11 years of a 25-year sentence in the U.S., and experts say he has deep relations with intelligence officers in Moscow. But left behind is another American. The U.S. says he's wrongfully detained in Russia. Businessman and former Marine Paul Whelan was already served 4 years of a 16-year sentence, charged with spying, which the U.S. strongly denies. President Biden insisting that they will never give up trying to get Whelan home. John Kirby from the National Security Council told me today that the deal that they got with Ms. Griner was the only deal that they could get, and now was the only moment that they could get it. So it was really take it or leave it, according to the Russian negotiators. Whelan's family says that they were devastated to learn that Paul would be left behind, but recognize the president made what they say is the right decision to bring Brittney Griner home to her family. Leon, Sean, back to you.
Andrea Mitchell, thank you. And Andrea's will be reporting the lead story on Nightly tonight, and that is coming up right after this newscast.
All right, let's turn to the weather. No fog tonight. That was a crazy cloud. The image you showed last night. That was really cool.
That was really neat. Just that layer of moisture, very low in the atmosphere, producing the fog. So literally, the clouds just continued to lower. We had the fog here, and then just a couple hundred feet up, clear skies.
Yeah. Yep.
That's really neat. I only see that a few times in our area. Let's take a look, show you what we're dealing with today. No fog. We had some sunshine early on, and that actually helped to show us these temperatures, bring up these temperatures to 59 degrees in D.C. That's nearly 10 degrees above average. 58 Patuxent River, 59 Baltimore, Leesburg coming in at 55 degrees. So a really nice day today, especially early on with that sunshine. Right now, though, we're dealing with some cooler numbers starting to move in. Winds out of the north at about 10 miles an hour, 52 degrees now. Dropping through the 40s. A lot of clouds tonight. Maybe an isolated sprinkle in some areas, but again, most of us will remain on the dry side. 48 right now, Gaithersburg. We're at 51 in Laurel, 49 Camp Springs, and Fort Belvoir coming in at 52. The cold spot, Warrenton, right now at 46. Here's some shower activity on the radar none of this, or at least not much of this, hitting the ground. But we are watching this system back to the west with some moderate rain into parts of Kentucky and towards parts of southwest Virginia. But notice where it's going. It's kind of drying out as it moves east and now starting to move to the south and east. So a better chance south and west of D.C. to get a chance of a sprinkle or so. But again, just enough to get the windshield wipers going once or twice. And that's going to be about it, because this is not going to be much of a rainmaker at all for us. What it's going to do, however, move to the south, help to bring in some of that colder air as high pressure moves in to the north. That's going to allow for much cooler air the next couple of days. Now, tomorrow will be cooler, but it will also be right around average. Our average high is 51. That's where I'm going, 51 degrees, lots of sunshine, cooler and nice. Most of you stay in the upper 40s tomorrow, 47, 48 degrees in our northern suburbs. So it is going to be a cooler day, but still not all that bad at all with that light wind and with that sunshine during the day. Now, your weekend outlook, ice skating looking good, raking the leaves, better on Saturday. Why? Well, we have a slight chance of a shower on Sunday. Not much of one, but if you can get out there Saturday, it's probably better. Holiday parties looking good, cold, but mostly dry. And this is not going to be a weekend, especially tomorrow night. You know those holiday parties where everybody comes in and the coat closet's overfilled? I don't think that's going to be the case this time around. I don't think everybody's going to be wearing those huge coats because it's just not going to be all that cold, although it's going to be a little chilly. 51 degrees tomorrow, nice. 44 degrees on your Saturday. More clouds on Saturday. More clouds on Sunday with a 30% chance of showers. Temperature around 48 degrees. Monday, a high temperature of 47 degrees. And we kind of stay in the 40s all next week for the most part. We do get up to 50 degrees next Thursday. That's coming with a pretty big storm next Thursday that could be a big storm, not just for us, but for the entire country, making its way in from west coast to east coast. It could be a big storm that we're going to be watching closely. For us right now, it's looking like a pretty big rainmaker, but I'm going to be tracking that for you. Tuesday and Wednesday, temperatures in the 40s, but still not all that bad with sunshine there as well. And look at next weekend, 46 on Saturday, 44 on Sunday as we take on the Giants out there at FedEx. I will be out there next week. I'm excited about it, but it's going to be a little bit on the chilly side.
Just make sure you're bundled up. Thank you, Doug.
This is the Xfinity Sports Desk.
You know, when the Commanders started the season 1-4, who would have thought that we'd be talking about playoffs in December? Well, Washington is off this week before the big primetime game here on NBC for a week from Sunday. But for more on where the Commanders stand right now and what lies ahead, here's team insider J.P. Finley with two special guests.
John Keim, ESPN Commanders reporter, and Nikki Jhabvala, Commanders reporter for the Washington Post. John and Nikki, thank you so much for taking the time. Nikki, I want to start with you. We finally made it to the bye week, and it's taken forever. This is a really, really late bye. What do you make of the Commanders over the first, not half, but almost 3/4 of this season?
I think they've hit all extremes possible to start the season 1-4, and then to have the turnaround they've had with Heineke at quarterback. I mean, it's very much a Heineke turnaround in the way they're playing. But I think it speaks a lot to the players they have. You got to give credit to the coaches on how they've really gone from, complete afterthought in the league to now a serious playoff contender at this point.
John, Nikki talked about the extremes there. We've seen them on seemingly every front, whether it's the run game, the defense. What has stood out to you for the Commanders in this first stretch of the season?
Oh boy, I think resiliency has stood out because starting 2-4, or 1-4, you have to have some level of resiliency. But I think beyond that, what has stood out is the play of the defensive tackles. John Allen and Daron Payne have been terrific, and they're the reason why that defense started to play well. Everything fell into place behind them, alongside them and behind them. But the level they're playing at has really, really stood out. And then the other part is the return and the effectiveness of running back Brian Robinson.
Looking ahead, 4 games left. What do they need to do? What will they do? How does this thing end, you think, playoff-wise?
I mean, I think it ultimately comes down to their consistency. Finally, unlike the last 2 years where they had flashes of good play, they have the makeup to play consistently and to be a solid, good team.
To me, if they go 3-1, they're in the playoffs.
It's a lock. Yeah.
If they go 2-2, I think they're probably in the playoffs.
I think they're probably in at that point.
What do you think happens?
Oh, boy. So you know how much I love to go on record with predictions, but I can legitimately see a 3-1 mark to get them in. that I don't think is unrealistic. So I do think they find their way in, whether it's 2-2 and they own tiebreakers over the Giants, or whether it's 3-1. I think they're going to get in.
I know you have an opinion on this.
It is too tempting to get too excited right now.
I know.
Just let's slow your roll, folks. Let's just take one game at a time. Let's just take care of the Giants in 2 weeks, and then we'll talk.
Okay.
Don't want to jinx it.
All right.
You know?
You heard it from Leon. We're going to
Okay.
wait until after the Giants game. Coming up next at 6, saying goodbye to the former home of Washington football.
The farewell to RFK. News 4's Mark Seagraves takes us inside for a rare look at what's left of the once beloved stadium.
But first, here's Lester Holt with a look at what's ahead on NBC Nightly News.
Right now, we talk to the brother of imprisoned American Paul Whelan, his reaction to Brittney Griner's release from Russia. Also, our investigation into whether racial bias is causing more black parents to be investigated by Child Protective Services.
D.C. leaders and sports legends gathered on the field at RFK Stadium for one last time today to say goodbye to the iconic venue.
News 4's Mark Seagraves reports on what's next and what's happening to some of the historic memorabilia from the stadium.
For generations, RFK Stadium was home to sporting events and concerts. It was D.C. United goalie Bill Hamid who today had the most poignant memory.
Yeah, I got a lot of memories here. So it sucks to see it go down.
The stadium was named for Robert F. Kennedy. His daughter, former Lieutenant Governor Kathleen Kennedy Townsend, was on hand.
This is, I have to tell you, a poignant day for my family.
Mayor Bowser led the ceremonial removal of the final seats from the lower bowl, which will be sold online.
To help us secure and preserve some of the iconic memorabilia.
But many of the historic artifacts from the stadium are not being well cared for, including those names that once lined the arena's Hall of Fame, now stacked in the parking lot, along with the white bleachers which once designated Frank Howard's home runs. Also sitting in the parking lot with other historic items, the letters that once spelled out RFK Stadium. The future of the RFK site is uncertain as Congress controls the land and the mayor and some members of the D.C. Council do not agree on putting a new stadium here. Those seats in the upper decks, they'll go on sale starting next year. The plan is to have the entire stadium demolished by the end of 2023. News 4 was granted exclusive access to RFK Stadium a few weeks ago. Here's what we saw along with some history of the stadium. A once shining beacon of the nation's capital, RFK Stadium has stood along the banks of the Anacostia River for more than 60 years. Today, the once proud Coliseum stands a rusted, decaying shadow of itself. Home to Washington's football team for decades, those infamous bouncing bleachers now idled by rust and growing trees. The field where heroes once fought for old D.C. Now the one remaining goalpost leans over piles of rubbish. For years, RFK played home to baseball. Now the dugout's abandoned, flooded with standing water. The perfectly green pitch where Olympic and professional soccer was played, now a field of dying grass and sprawling weeds. Only aging reminders of D.C. United's time here. The D.C. Hall of Fame names that watched over the field for so many years, now stacked in the bowels of the deteriorating building, unprotected, collecting dust. The concourse where fans once gathered, a crumbling shell of its past. A few reminders of the offerings fans once lined up for. This sign for medical services provided by the now gone Providence Hospital, another casualty of time. And the seats where fans once cheered, now blistered by years of neglect, waiting to be removed and sold to the highest bidder. All that's left of RFK waiting to be torn down to make way for what's next, a question that remains unanswered. From RFK Stadium, Mark Seagraves, News 4.
So many memories. After our report at 4 o'clock this evening, D.C.'s deputy mayor told us that some of those historic items, including the Hall of Fame names that were stacked out there in the parking lot, they've now been moved inside.
That is good to hear, so they can be preserved even better. All right. Coming up next on NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt, prisoner swap. Brittney Griner finally heading home, but not everyone is celebrating. Lester speaks with the family of another American still jailed in Russia.
Plus, the Respect for Marriage Act heading to President Biden's desk. what's included in that bill. Nightly news starts in about 60 seconds.
We hope to see you back here at 11. Good night.